Hi, this is Tracy, the Happy Teacher. So in our last video segment, we talked about choosing a just right book. So now you have a book that's just right or close to being just right that you're going to read with your learner. In this book, in the other video, I pretended that there were a couple of words that were new to me or that I got stuck on. Before I dive into that, I want to point out that the reason that this is so important is because when readers stop or are stopped by words that are confusing to them, it really can stunt their comprehension. If they keep stopping and spending time trying to figure out what the word is, they're going to forget about what they were reading. So that's why it's so important to make sure you're choosing a just right book, and that if it's almost just right, or if there could be some higher level vocabulary words, especially with nonfiction books, it's really a good idea to do that in advance so that your student will know what those words are before they start reading. That way, when they start reading, they'll have a better understanding of what they just read. Of course, we'll talk about that later. So in this book, Super Fly Guy, I pretended at the beginning that I was stuck on the word named and the word could. Now, for the word could, it's not a word that is decodable or a word that we can sound out. It's a sight word. You have to know the pattern that OU makes the sound, and could, would, should. Those words are not easily decodable. However, the word named is more decodable, and I read name successfully at the end of this page. So I would say to a learner, oh, those are the two words that you said were new to you. Well, this word is could, but let's look at this one together. Are there any parts to that word that you know? Sometimes the student will say no, especially in this word because you have ed, but that can make the ed sound or the t sound depending on the word. So then you might say to them, well, what rules do we know? If there's an E at the end, what does the E tell us that we need to do with this first vowel? The E makes the A say its name. So let's get our mouth ready and let's say the first sound. Aimed, named. And you don't want to spend too much time on it because your learner will lose interest. So the idea is to provide enough support where they feel successful, but also to teach them how to decode the word themselves, because we're not always going to be right there with them, and we want them to learn how to read independently. You could also point out if they read this successfully, like I did when I was modeling it in the other video clip, is that this is the word name and this just has a D at the end. So then you would go back and say, okay, good readers always go back and reread to get their place in their head again. So let's read this together. And then you could have your child track with their finger and you could read it with them, or you could have them read it on their own. The other important thing to do is stop and self-monitor. We'll talk about that in the next video segment. Happy reading.